having kids, I don't remember anything from like 20 years old before, you know, I've forgotten everything. But I do remember Leslie always standing out. You always knew she was kind of on the right road. She didn't really seem to have that, you know, question of, I mean, maybe when she was 4, but I guess for the majority, you could always tell she could kind of like see where she was going, and there wasn't really stuff distracting her on the side. She just kind of had that goal in sight, and she was going for it. And she's never really wavered from that. And I don't know how many times I've told people, I'm like, the same comment, oh, whatever guy ends up with Leslie, I hope he realizes what he's getting. But you know, getting to know Joseph just in this little time, I mean, I've formally met you once, but getting to meet your family, and you can tell people by their family too, and you know, I feel like you guys are such a great match for each other, and I'm sure Leslie's just as lucky to have found Joseph and vice versa, and I think you guys are such a great couple, and you can just see how your future, you have such respect for each other and the way you treat each other and love each other, and I'm so excited to see how your future pans out for you, and what a fun journey you're going to have. It's such a neat adventure, and just marriage in itself, you know, done the right way, you can tell it's definitely part of Heavenly Father's plan, because it's so wonderful, and what a blessing it is, and I wish you the best.
Well, my name is Christy, and I am the sister just older than Leslie, and we are 3 years apart. We were spaced out just enough that that she was a freshman in high school the year after I graduated, and then I went to college for a few years, and then when Leslie finally came to college was the exact summer that my husband and I moved to Mexico. And then as soon as we moved back to Mexico was the exact summer that Leslie left on her mission. And then when Leslie came back from her mission was the same summer we moved to Dallas. And so Leslie and I, even though we're close, we've been living avoiding one another. We've been living far apart, but I don't think that is hurt our relationship. I think that we could still continue to be close. Some of my fun memories of Leslie are this summer I was 15, and how old were you? 12? We, the two of us, went to Nevada to live with my grandma for 9 weeks and 2 days, the longest 9 weeks and 2 days of our lives. We were so homesick, and we had no friends, and we were so bored. We would just go to the swimming pool every day, all day, and hope that someone would write us a letter. We'd check the mail like twice a day, and we'd go home, and Grandma would make us like hamburger helper every night, and then we'd watch Murder, She Wrote, and then the day would start over. And it was hard, but so a lot of times we'd kind of just hang out in our room, or hang out, like go on little hikes around this little town, and I think we really grew close that summer. At least that's when I really grew close to Leslie, and we have a lot of fun memories from that. Sorry, I've been thinking of so many memories, saying, oh, I want to say that, I want to say that, and I can't really think of anything. Another thing that I remember was when I would come home from college in the summers and at Christmas, Leslie was in high school, and that was when I really realized, oh, Leslie's grown up, and we think of the same things. And one summer we were hanging out, and Leslie and her friends, they got into some trouble, and I don't remember what it was, but my parents were mad at Leslie, and they were saying, hey, we're gonna let you choose your own punishment. And Leslie decided to, her punishment for herself was that she was not going to be, I'm all emotional about this, and it's just Leslie. She wasn't going to hang out with those friends anymore, and so Leslie, and they were her best friends, her little group of friends, and she didn't have friends after that. Not like she was pathetic, but she just didn't have any close friends, and it was a really hard time for her, but I remember being so impressed, and I'm still impressed, that Leslie would, I think I would have chose an easier punishment for myself. and just to make mom and dad happy. But Leslie chose something that really corrected the wrong. And she knew that these were not good girls, and she needed to be better. And I've just been very impressed with that. It shows Leslie's personal integrity. And then another kind of just a special coincidence that we have is I just am so grateful for Leslie that after she went out on a date with my husband before we were married, and I hadn't met him yet, that she came home and was like, I went out with the coolest guy, his name's Craig, and he's just so much fun. And I remember thinking, what 22-year-old goes out and has fun with a 16-year-old? He must be a weirdo. And so, but Leslie kept talking him up, and it perked my interest, and I ended up meeting him, and we ended up getting married, and I'm glad still about my decision to do that. And so I thank Leslie for that. And just she's had she's always cheerful and always excited. But I have a special memory of this summer. Leslie and I met up at just a local pool in Provo just to hang out, and we were just talking about what's new, and Leslie mentions, oh, I have a date this Thursday, and so I start asking her about it. She's like, yeah, I met this guy at the grocery store, and I'm trying not to make a big deal about it because I just met him and I don't know him, but I'm really excited. And so then I was like, okay, well, call me as soon as you get home. I want to hear about it. And I was all excited, and then she went out with Joseph, and she was really excited, and it was so exciting for me and neat for me to see Leslie excited about a guy, because she had dated a lot of guys and just was trying to like them, but just wasn't working, and it just wasn't good. But she didn't have to try hard to like Joseph. Leslie liked him from the beginning, and this summer we were flying home to Alaska, and Joseph sent her this quick little, I mean, they'd only dated for like 2 weeks, and Leslie was out of town for most of that time anyway, and he just sent her this little text message like, have a nice flight, see you, Joseph. And Leslie was like, he texted me. So excited, and it was like a half hour later, we were walking to the bathroom right before our flight, and she was like, he texted me, and I was like, oh, he did again, what did she say? And he's like, no, it's just that one. And so that was when I called her then. I was like, Leslie, you're going to marry this guy. And so I just didn't think it was going to be this fast. I predicted December 17th, but they decided not to wait that long. But my wedding wishes for you guys would be for, I assume the excitement and the love for each other is mutual, and for you to keep that, especially the excitement that Leslie has felt about meeting Joseph and getting to know him and falling in love with him and falling in love with his family, and just that you guys can keep that alive and not let that, not forget about that, and how it's an important part. So, congratulations.
Open up, shut.
All right. Well, I'm Craig, and I'm Christy's husband. And I had a couple remarks, but I think I better clarify real quick her story about See, I was Tori and Paige's home teacher at a BYU ward, and they went to say, is there anything I can do for you? All right. Leslie came in to see BYU, and they wanted to have a college experience, so they brought me into the deal. And I found out she was 16 when I got there. There's no way out after that. So that's the story. But I'll refer to that in a second. Fortunately, it was one of the best dates I went out on, because Leslie was so cool and led me to believe that her sister would be the same. So it was a good thing. Well, first of all, I want to thank the Lewis family for inviting us into this, whatever you call this, family home evening extravaganza. It's been a lot of fun. And I wanted to say real quick about, first time I met Joseph, her and Leslie came over to my parents' house. We happened to be in Utah. We were going back to Texas the next day or whatever. And they showed up, And Joseph had a folded up mattress in the back seat of his car. And I said, what kind of a guy is this? They're like, on their first date, he's got a mattress in the back of his car. And I'm never going to let you forget that. But I think he was moving or something, because we learned that once we got to know him that he's a fantastic guy. And as soon as I found out that he liked football, I knew that we were going to be on good terms. So anyhow, we look forward to having him in the family, and want to tell him and his family that he is marrying into an absolutely amazing family, and hopefully you've been able to see that by the character that Leslie has and her other sisters and family. It's a great family to be in. And things that I admire about Leslie, I think a lot of things have been said, that she is so fun-loving and just willing to participate with a great attitude in many different things, be it sports or music or spiritual things, or whatever. She's just open to it and has such a great attitude about that. I know you guys are going to have a lot of fun, and we hope you come visit us now and then so we can have fun together. And now that I know LeGrand lives 10 miles away from us, we expect you guys to be down there. So anyhow, we wish you the best, and we know you'll have a wonderful life together. So congratulations.
Thanks, Craig.
For me, I was actually only about 5, I think, when Joseph graduated from high school or whatever, so I didn't really get to know Joseph too well as a kid. But one memory I do have is that I was just starting to come out of that stage where I stopped letting Laura dress me up in girl clothes and run around like that. And so I was starting to like sports, and I remember it was March, and March Madness was going on, and I remember Joseph had this bracket filled out, and I remember I tried to fill out mine too, and he was all helping me out and would just talk with me about sports and about little cartoons and stuff to interest me, because he was also always so thoughtful to try to make you feel welcome and happy and stuff like that. So that's one memory I had. And then since then, I've got to know Joseph a lot better, because he's really good about trying to get to all the family activities and all the family reunions. And I always kind of felt bad, but kind of participated in, until just recently, every family gathering, we'd always make it a point to get at least one joke about Joseph not being married and being so old. And Joseph was always such a good sport about it, and he would just crack jokes, and he was the funniest guy ever, and he was just so fun to be around. And even though we're all a lot younger than him, all the kids that still live at home, he'd still always have a fun time with us, and not be bitter about the fact that he's hanging out with a bunch of little brothers and sisters when he couldn't be back in DC or whatever. So those are some of the reasons I love Joseph.
Like Aaron, I was very old when Joseph graduated, so I don't have really any memories from that time. But I remember that he would come home for Christmas every year, and I was really angry one time because all our brothers and sisters were going Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve, and they weren't going to go to the snow with us. But I remember Joseph was the only older brother or sister who came with us on the snow trip, and I was having a bad attitude about it and everything. And Joseph made that the funnest tubing experience of my life. He started snowball fights, and he put 20 guys on this huge air mattress and went down the hill, and I thought they were all going to die. It was hilarious, and it just turned out to be an awesome experience. And so every time I get together with Joseph, it's always really fun. And Joseph always makes everything that we do an uplifting, positive experience, and I always laugh every time I'm around him. He just makes me feel really good. And last month we were here in Utah again, and he and Leslie were together, and I was with some of my girl cousins, and we just thought it was the cutest thing in the world, how they're always holding hands. And so I just hope that you continue that and go on dates and stay cute together.
I think the very first time I met Leslie, she was younger, and we had just gone to Alaska, and Leslie had such a spirit of innocence and love. I instantly got so protective of her. It was my wife can attest to it, that every guy she's been dating or done anything with, I've always been like, man, we got to find out about this guy. I'm sure he's not good enough for And the first time I heard about Joseph, I think Craig and I were actually at our home and the sisters get together and Leslie's dating and she really likes this guy, and he picked up on her in the line at the grocery store, and I look at Craig and we're like, we gotta find this guy. This sounds like trouble. We always imagined Leslie was gonna pick her husband up on the temple grounds, or but the moral of the story, I've always been protective of Leslie and knew when she found her husband that he would be a great guy. And I think you guys are lucky to find each other, and I wish you the best.
Anderson, do you have a wedding wish?
I'm awfully glad that we met so long time years ago. I knew his mother in college, and then both of us went to college and we went on loved each other, and we knew that they both came from families where they didn't talk about it. To laugh about, and she was always happy to be so their children. Their smiling faces. And there's always music, and I'm thankful for this couple. I just was really so happy to get with you. And I heard her play the violin, and I played the violin, and I even got out my violin, and I thought it was the violin that was terrible. But when she played it, I know it was a good violin. So I didn't practice. Maybe another year or so on paper. But anyway, I surely welcome her and want you to be a part of our family too. Thanks. We still get up. I'm only 85.
Just a few days ago, I got through the email, and I imagine a lot of you did too. But I'm going to read some of it because Joseph shouted for joy. And I said, that's what we want to do when we heard about him marrying Leslie. And this is what he says, and I hope you don't mind. Maybe it was to you. Last Sunday morning, I left the church building grinning from ear to ear. I felt the sun was beaming down on me about as bright as I was beaming with joy. I was so glad I wanted to cry and yell something out loud at the same time. I didn't know what to yell or to whom, but I felt an indescribable, wonderful feeling inside. In some of my earliest memories, I found myself on my knees praying to achieve a temple marriage. I had learned that a temple marriage lasts for eternity, but it is difficult to qualify for. I longed for a marriage that would establish an association to extend beyond the limitations of death in this life. We frequently refer to this eternal bond as a sealing. As I grew older and learned more about the sealing process, I became more certain that this eternal sealing would bring me maximum happiness in this life and in the hereafter, as long as I lived up to the commitments I made with Leslie. I remember now you were writing to Carol to respond to some of her questions about marriage for the LDS people. And I thought it was wonderful. And I want you to know I'm glad you shouted for joy, because I shouted for joy too. And I love both of you already. I love you very much.
Well, I did jump for joy too when I first met Leslie. She just has this beautiful spirit about her. I feel so honored to be Joseph's mother. He has been a very calm. In fact, from the moment he was born, he didn't even cry. He just looked around, and he's been a calm and pleasant and happy
We called him the little bishop when he was a little boy because he was just so proper and so good. He's always just been good. He has many amazing qualities, and I feel like he just kind of raised himself to be this wonderful young man. And he has, one of his greatest characteristics is that of persistence. He used to do big puzzles that were very difficult when he was a little boy. He taught himself how to type on the typewriter when he homeschooled, and he just did all kinds of things. And another thing I love about him is that he's so respectful, and Leslie will be so blessed. Joseph will always treat her like a queen. And I feel like his great persistence paid off, as we always, they said, gave him a bad time about why he didn't get married, but he just hadn't found Leslie yet. And I feel like our prayers are answered. The Lord brought them together at the perfect time, and they are going to have an eternity of joy and happiness together. And I wish they'll keep the music going in their home. They will. Oh, I love you so much.
Well, I first of all want to say what a privilege we feel it is to join these two families together. We're just so grateful for this wonderful Christian family that Leslie gives us the opportunity to now be a part of. And that's been one of the great blessings of having our children marry spouses, of course, is that we now become a part of these other wonderful families that are out there. So we look forward to that association. So grateful we had an opportunity to meet your parents before they left on their mission. Just jewels. Such wonderful people. We look forward to that association. I want to say about Joseph, he has so many great qualities. I certainly want to reiterate the fact that he's always been such a entrepreneur, and I've just been so impressed. I remember when he set up the window cleaning business, his mother actually encouraged him to do that, and he learned it from a cousin of his in Boise, and I knew that he was setting up this business, but one day I walked into his room, and there was a telephone on his dresser, and I said, "Joseph, what's that telephone over there?" He said, "Well, that's my window cleaner line." And I walked over there, and sure enough, he had his own telephone for his window cleaning business. And he said, "Here, you want to see one of my cards?" he had business cards. And it was an amazing thing for what he did. Had his own checking account and so forth. But I'll never forget when I got the phone call that he had been in this accident, and how concerned I was. I went to the hospital, and I remember I was visibly shaking. I was so concerned about his life, and they wouldn't let me see him and so forth. It was quite a while before I was able to actually be with him, and I was able to give him a priesthood blessing. And I remember in the priesthood blessing feeling that strong feeling that he would be completely healed. And when Joseph was finally able to communicate with us, that was one of the first things he asked. He said, "Dad, did you promise me that I would be completely healed?" And I said, "Son, I did." And he just grabbed onto that. And it was like he wouldn't let that go. And he knew that he was going to be completely healed. And he has been, because he's been worthy of that blessing. In the calling that I have right now, I deal with a lot of young people who don't keep themselves morally clean. And I'm so grateful that Joseph and Leslie have kept themselves morally clean to be worthy for this marvelous covenant that they will make in the temple tomorrow. If there was two words that I think describe Joseph, I would use the words obedient and righteous. And he's just a good young man. And I'm so grateful for his association as my son. I'm proud of him and I love him. All right, your mother and I would like to sing a couple of songs. Mother's going to sing before the tributes, and then we have a wonderful tribute from Brother and Sister Christian that we'll ask Sean to read. But maybe to break that up, if we could have Lynette's going to sing the song she wrote for him, as she does for each of the children when they're born. And then we'll sing through all eternity, even though Esther's not here to accompany us.
Well, I just would write a little ditty for each of my children when they were born. And as I was singing this one lately, I thought, this has come so true for Joseph. Even though I wrote it when he was like 1 day old in the hospital, he's fulfilled every dream. And it's just a real simple day. It's just, a special son is Joseph, named after great men true, enriching our whole family. We love you. You're big and strong and healthy, an answer to our prayers. So kindly and obedient, with a heart that cares.
It's always tradition, I guess. I know it's getting so late. I hate to do it, but I guess it's tradition. Who wants to join with us? Through all eternity?
They're doing Mary's lullaby. Next wedding, you sing this one. This is a song that we sang at our wedding breakfast. And we've sung it at every one since. And it's written by Wanda Palmer, our friend from Arizona. Join us if you would.
We don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, you guys.
Through all eternity, I will love you. Through all eternity, you'll be mine. I pray the Lord above will bless us and help us to live worthy of this blessing divine. Through all eternity, I'll be near you, and though we are two, we'll be one. Together, hand in hand, we'll walk through this life as planned, and through all eternity. Through all eternity, I will love you. Through all eternity, you'll be mine. Together, hand in hand, we'll walk through this life as planned, and then on and on, through all eternity. Through all eternity.
Well, I think since I am doing this one, that I get to give you one more wedding wish, and that for Leslie's sake, that you will not have any children that have the same temper tantrums that you did. But for Joseph, that at any given occasion, that you will have an extra pair of dress socks. You won't have to go through what I'm suffering through right now. To our dear Leslie, we understand that these comments will be given to you the night prior to your wedding. Whether they will be read out loud or simply presented to you for your own reading, we do not know. What we do know is how much we love you, treasure you, and admire you for the decisions that you have made in your life. Look around the room carefully and you will see two sets of the richest parents in all the world. One set is Joseph's mom and dad. What an outstanding family they are. They have done so well with their family. How wonderful that you will soon be a part of it. Now Leslie, look a little closer and you'll see a second set of rich parents. And that is us. We are there also. You'll see part of us in Sean's smile and sense of humor. You can see much of Mom in the beauty and grace that your truly wonderful 4 older sisters have. Look at them again. They all have been married over 5 years. The hard reality of having not time enough, not enough money, not enough energy, along with having other real challenges, have deepened their faith in the Lord. But only by going through such things do we gain the wisdom and compassion God would have us learn. And so we smile at you this evening, knowing that you and Joseph are beginning a wonderful, eternal adventure together. The Lord will never be far away. He loves you and will bless you greatly because you both desire your new family to be for all eternity. There have been several things that have happened in your life that we wanted to share with you, for they have meant much to us. Remember the hike you and Dad took that summer day in Pioche? You were just a little girl. Partway up and back, you chided Dad somewhat for his habit of swearing. Unless one is J. Golden Kimball, you do not swear if you're a bishop of the church. Dad was a bishop, and he did swear. You promised to give Dad a report card of his progress. He still has the report card, and he loves it. Whereas Brother Kimball would most certainly have earned all F's for his 30-day monthly report, Dad received only 23 F's. 6 D's and 1 C. That 1 C has meant a great deal to him. And it's meant there is much hope even for the worst of us. Your desire to teach started at an early age, and you did it very well. Around the time you helped us learn another lesson. It was when our Suburban had nearly broke down on our lonely stretch of the Cassiar Highway in Canada. What were we to do? We were alone and hundreds of miles away from help. We simply did not know what to do. One of you guys said that we should pray for help. It's a good idea, Dad thought. But he wasn't too sure the Lord would answer his prayer, too much swearing and other follies. So he wisely delegated the task to you. We had to go with our innocent child, and Dad wasn't too sure that Sean Page, Tori, Lynn, or Christy would qualify in that regard. We walked away to a nearby grove of trees and stood in a circle. Your prayer was very short and to the point. Heavenly Father, please fix our car so we can get home. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Dad gulped and thought, wow. The little kids get right to the point, don't they? And so we got back in the car and took off. But somehow Dad knew how to drive the car home so that the differential gears would not destroy themselves. And we finally arrived home, just 5 minutes before the car died for good. Thanks for the faith and trust that you and your brothers and sisters have had in the Lord down through the years. We were constantly taught so much good by all of you. We know of the difficulties that you faced in high school, and that you had to choose between some quote-unquote friends and doing what was right. That was probably your worst year. Much of the time, you were alone. But right choices have a way of paying off. Other friends came around and you pursued other interests and talents. Now look around the room again. You're surrounded by loving family and friends. How wise you were to know that when you try to do what is right, you may be alone, but you will never be lonely. The Lord will always be close by. We loved hearing of your experiences while you're on your mission. Wow, 16 months in the same little town. It must be a record for Latter-day Saint missionaries. But you haven't gone on your mission to see the sights. You had gone on a mission to invite souls to Christ, and invite you did, along with some gentle nudgings of a few who were spiritually sleeping. It just may be a former rough and tough, long-bearded, chain-smoking, bowed atheist and his wife who might be at your temple ceiling tomorrow. Their love for you and your companion will carry into the eternities. Thanks for having the vision on your mission that the only feet and voices the Lord has in these last days are our own feet and voices. The only knuckles he has to knock on doors are our knuckles. The Lord or his prophets are not going to come down and do what we need to do. Thanks for having that vision. We are trying to do our little part of walking and talking and knocking here over in Ireland. Now, we could go on and on about the wonderful things that happened to you that have been such highlights to us. You were our wonderful Christmas surprise in 1981, which came 2 weeks early. Our violin recital in Anchorage at the Anchorage Youth Symphony performance of Beethoven's Fifth came to mind. Even the New York Philharmonic could not have sounded that good in our ears. But now it is time to close. So just a last comment or two. Always remember a special blessing that was given to you in the Carl G. Macer building one quiet spring afternoon. Who would have thought so many deep concerns and worries about the future would have been addressed and taken care of within 6 short months? You and Joseph are about to start your great eternal adventure. We will see you soon. Rest assured that at the time you are both kneeling at the sacred altar in the Salt Lake Temple, holding hands and making eternal covenants with each other and with your God. Your mom and dad will also be kneeling. Side by side in our little apartment in Ireland. We will be dressed in our Sunday best, proudly wearing our missionary tags, holding hands and thinking of you and your brothers and sisters and each of their spouses in the 11 and soon to be 12 cutest grandkids on the face of the earth. We love you and admire you. May the Lord's Spirit continue to be with you. Always remember that families indeed can be together forever, and therefore there must be no empty chairs. Take care. We love you.
We're almost finished. We do have 2 more things to do, and that is that we would like to, at the request of Leslie and Joseph, we would like to give them priesthood blessings, Father's blessing. And Leslie's asked Sean to substitute for her father and giving a priesthood blessing to her. So we'll ask for your patience a little bit longer, and we'll now have these blessings. So perhaps if it's all right, Sean will let you give Leslie her blessing first.
Father in heaven, we're so very grateful this evening that we can come together as family and have this time to pay tribute and honor to Joseph and Leslie at this special time in their lives. We're grateful for the spirit that we've felt here, and we're very grateful for the truths of the gospel in our lives and for our knowledge of the plan of salvation and the eternity of families. We're grateful for the joy and the peace that it brings into our lives. At this time we ask you, Father, that we might always have thy Spirit to be with us. We pray for brother and sister Christian as they serve thee, and give you thanks for all that we have. And as we pray in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
If we could all pitch in and try to get these chairs back in order. I'm sure the church.
my sweetheart, and it was well worth the wait. I remember when I was graduating from BYU, I was getting close to graduating, and my mom was talking a little about my courting and dating different girls, and I was expressing how I hadn't quite found her yet, and how it was difficult. And I even started to justify a little bit, being single, some of the pros of being single, and how great it was, And then I hear this booming voice from the other end of the telephone, and I didn't know my dad was on the phone, but he says, "It is not good for man to be alone." Anyway, ever since then, I stopped trying to justify my marital status, and I have been searching for my sweetheart. I remember I was on a bus up to Baltimore 5 years ago with a bunch of the other interns, and I was doing an internship, and their intern coordinator Jan asked Dave and I to come to the front of the bus, and I figured it had to do with religion because he and I were the two BYU guys on the bus, and she says, and so we started asking about the Book of Mormon that we had given her a couple weeks ago. She said, "I had one question. There's this part at the beginning that talks about Joseph Smith, and he was to take the gold plates, but he had to wait 4 years, and that's confusing to me. Why would he have to wait 4 years?" I'd never been asked that before, I never had that question before, but then it came to my mind that I thought, well, when I got back from my mission, I was anxiously hoping to find my bride, and when all my other friends started getting married, and I still wasn't married, I was a little concerned, but I often thought that maybe the Lord had wanted Joseph Smith, and in this case, he wanted me to learn to appreciate it all the more when it finally did come, and to treasure and to cherish the opportunity and experience, and never take it for granted. And so, I was living in Washington, D.C. these past 4 years, and I was fervently praying to the Lord for what He wanted me to do, and I really felt that He wanted me to get married, and so I said, I would do anything to do Your will. What would you have me do to get married? I've been dating, and I haven't quite found her, and been a little frustrating. And then the thought came to my mind, you need to move to Utah. I said, well, I'll do anything except move to Utah. So, but then I had to repent and rephrase, and anyway, I started to think more about it, and then then I thought to myself, well, I don't know anybody, all my friends have mostly moved out of Utah. I don't have a job there, I don't know where I live. I don't really know how I'd proceed if I were to move to Utah. And I went and I read a couple of chapters in the Book of Mormon every morning, and I read that in 1 Nephi chapter 4, where Nephi says he went forth into the house of Laban, not knowing beforehand what things he should do. And I thought maybe that was kind of a sign. And then I kind of played it off a little bit. But then the next day I was like, well, maybe I can find a little bit more specific guidance in the scriptures. So I'm just reading my regular 2 chapters a day. I happen to be on 1 Nephi chapter 7, where Lehi sends his kids back to where they came from to go find wives. So I think I laughed out loud in my personal scripture study that day, but it was pretty neat. But everything really fell into place. Thanks to my Uncle Dean was able to help me secure a good job here, and he even gave me a place to house it for a while when I first moved here. And so I was house sitting. Let's see, I moved here on June 4th, and then June 8th I started my job, and then after I had eaten all of Uncle Dean and Aunt Colleen's food, I realized I was out of food. So I went to the grocery store, and while I was at the grocery store, I just casually turned into Macy's. Little did I know that experience was going to change my eternity so significantly. When I was going to check out, and I usually just look for the shortest line, I was scanning the different aisles for the shortest line, and all of a sudden, I wasn't looking for the shortest line anymore. I saw the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen in my life. So jumped in line behind her, and the conversation went something like, "Oh, are you a student here? And what are you studying? Where are you from?" Started chatting a little bit. And then the cashier was checking out the groceries, and hear the beep, And it was kind of like a time bomb. Like if you don't hurry, you're going to lose her forever. So the beats continued. And I saw that she had a shopping list that had little designs on it, the Ann Geddes babies or whatever. And I thought, oh, can I see your shopping list? And make sure you have everything. So she handed it to me. And then I just reviewed it and said, yeah, it looks like you got everything. And trick I learned from my dad, you always have a pen on hand. So I had a pen there, and I said, oh, you're missing something. And I wrote my email address on the bottom of her shopping list. And the next day I got an email from her, and so I promptly emailed her back. And I said, I asked her, she said she was going out of town the following weekend, so I said, let's go out this Thursday. Do you like bowling? She emails me back and said, that'd be great. I have my own bowling shoes. I was like, oh, I don't really bowl that much. So I was still house sitting for Uncle Dean and Aunt Colleen when, let's see, CG and Corbin and Katie were in my house with Verlin. And we were watching the Detroit Pistons and the San Antonio Spurs NBA championship game. We were living a life of recklessness and indulgence while Uncle Dean was out of town on the big screen TV. So anyway, I was getting up to leave, and Katie said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I've got a date tonight." And she said, "Well, who's your date with?" I said, "Oh, it's a girl that I actually kind of embarrassed to admit, but I met her at the grocery store." And she said, "Oh, what's her name?" I said, "What, you think you know everybody that shops at Macy's?" But I said, "Well, interestingly enough, she's an elementary education major like you." And Katie prodded me for a little few more questions and said, "Yeah, she's very beautiful, long, slender, blonde blonde hair, beautiful blue eyes." And Katie said, "Well, I know Leslie who went on her mission to Boise, Idaho in my program. Why don't you ask her that?" So when I picked up Leslie, when you first came to the door and you opened that door, like I just could not believe how beautiful you were. I thought she was not this beautiful when I met her, but anyway, every time I see her, she does the same thing. It's like, wow, how is she? And we got in the car, and I don't know, on the first date you don't typically ask, did you go on your mission to Boise, Idaho? But that was about the first question I asked her, and she said she did. And I said, well, I think I know somebody that knows you, so we drove over to Uncle Dean's where I had been house sitting, and then she and Kate quickly embraced and started chatting away while the men watched the basketball game. The whole time I'm keeping my eye on the situation to make sure it's going well. And after about 5 minutes, I'm in. I can see this is good. So, then we went bowling, and she creamed me. I think she bowled a 200 that night. And we just had such a great time. But she did go out of town that weekend. She went to Boise to go visit her mission. She loves those people so much. She always talks about them. And then on her way back, she we were talking on the phone the whole week that she was out of town, and we were growing quite fond of each other. And on her way back into town, she stopped by my apartment in Utah, and I said, I'll fix you dinner. And I'm like, oh great, it's Sunday, I can't find anything, what do I got here? I got some frozen chicken pot pies and some Eggo waffles. That'll do. I whipped it up, and anyway, she came over, and we had a good time. And then that next night, I met Craig and Christy, and spent time with their family, and just everything was just going so wonderfully, and I was so impressed with her. And then, well, Leslie was out of town. Then she went to Alaska with her family that week, and we were just talking regularly on the phone and just growing more and more endeared to each other. And then when she came back, then we soon after that started dating exclusively. During those 2 weeks, since I had moved there, I had accumulated when you're 28 and single, people start to feel pretty sorry for you around here. So I had accumulated this pretty hefty list of girls that I was supposed to ask out, and I had started going out with some of them, but every time I went out with those girls, I was always thinking of Leslie and how I longed to be with her. So I thought that was a pretty good sign. And anyway, I just started praying more about it. I felt really right about everything. And then not long after that, I asked you to go to my high school class reunion up in Oregon. So I knew she was going to meet my family, and so I was starting to think more seriously about engagement. And so I bought a wedding ring, and she didn't know I had it. And then at some point in our courtship, because I had asked you, when we were becoming more serious, I said, would you like to move things forward with this relationship? And she had said, well, let me think and pray about it. And then she came back to me later and said, I would like to move things forward with this relationship. And inside, wanted to marry me. And inside, I'm like, oh, woohoo! But on the outside, I'm going, oh, that's nice. But at some point, I did say, if things do go forward, what's your ring size? She said, size 5. So, it was that. And then I did end up buying a ring. And then on the flight, we were flying to Oregon, and my bag, the security said, well, you've been selected to have your luggage gone through. And I pulled up right next to him. I said, there's a wedding ring in there that my wife doesn't know, my fiance doesn't know that I have, that you can't show. So I'm like cuddled up next to him while he's going through my bag. He's like, is this the pocket? And I'm like, no, you're clear of that one. Anyway, we went to Oregon, we flew in, we went and did a temple session. It was really special. And then the next day we went up to to Skinner's View. Eugene Skinner's the founder of Eugene, and he has a park there too. And we went up there and read scriptures and had a wonderful experience. And then we spent the day on the coast. We were visiting the lighthouse, and I was supposed to kind of be planning my class reunion, so I was kind of keeping tabs on my cell phone, make sure I was okay with the people who were planning it. And I was up at the lighthouse, and I looked at my phone, I said, oh good, I get reception up here. And Leslie says, what did you say?
I said, that would be beautiful. I was like, wait, what? To have a reception up here, that would be beautiful. I said, my phone can't get any reception. I told her right then, I was like, I think this is one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Because I already told him that I would like to marry him. And then he was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I was like throwing myself at this guy. And then I just topped it off with that comment. I just thought I'd ruin any chance with him. So that's it.
Little did she know the next morning I was hoping to propose to her. And then that night we went to my class reunion, and it was so fun introducing her to all my friends. And then that night I dropped her off, and I said, I'm going to pick you up a little bit later tomorrow morning. I had to make some preparations. Then when I got home, I called her father to ask permission to marry her. And so I talked to both his parents. They were great. They said, we just asked that you take her to the Celestial Kingdom. So, and then the next, why don't you tell us the part?
Okay. So I'm totally oblivious. I just thought I, shot any chance I had with this amazing guy. So he said he'd pick me up a little bit later the next morning, and I slept in. He was all, up to other things and get up early in the morning, but he came and picked me up, and he told me right away that he knew where he wanted to go for breakfast that morning. So we went to a little place, nice little restaurant, and we sat down and we ordered our food. And a few minutes later, the waiter came back and he's all concerned. He's like, I am so sorry, I really apologize. There's been some problems back in the kitchen and we're not gonna have your food ready for about a half an hour. And, some people can get kind of irritated, but Joseph, he's so gracious. He's like, oh, that's no problem. Leslie, why don't we'll go to the Rose Garden beforehand instead of afterwards like we had planned. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then, anyway, he said, well, we'll come back and eat breakfast after we go to the Rose Garden. As we're walking out, I was like, that is something I really admire about you. You're so patient. You just treat people so well even when there's inconveniences. Anyway, and so we went to the Owen Rose Garden in Eugene, Oregon, and it was just beautiful, sunny morning. Started walking around the paths,
and there's just all thousands of different kinds of roses, and we're just having a great conversation. And we're approaching the center of the rose garden that had a gazebo in the middle. And he started telling me how much he's loved getting to know my family and how much he's admired them. And I was just enjoying what he was saying. And then as we were approaching the gazebo, there's all these sprinklers going off, so we had to kind of run through and we got all wet a little bit. But as we got inside the gazebo, he said, and another thing is, I really love getting to know your parents. I just think they're wonderful people. And it kind of, I don't know, confused me for a second because he'd never met my parents before. And I thought maybe he's just, I thought he meant to say, I'm looking forward to getting to know your parents or something. Anyway, I was just like kind of thrown off for a second. And then he said, because I called your dad last night and I asked for his permission to marry you, and now I want to ask you. And I was just like, really happy when he said that. And he got down on one knee and he was kind of fumbling and grabbed the ring box and he pulled it out and he asked me to marry him and made me cry. And I just said, of course I'll marry you, because I already knew. I felt so good about it, and so that was our little moment there.